Welcome back to the After Actions podcast. Today we are shooting episode number 11, talking about BCP today, the Body Composition Program. Some of y'all may have heard of this before. Why are you fat in my uniform? Yeah, lucky for you, the viewer. My co-host, he's actually the ground training chief. He manages the BCP program, and I'm going to put him to the test. I'm going to ask him the hard questions today because your boy was always a taper. The last time I had stepped on the scale and made weight, according to the Marine Corps standards, I was in my MOS school. Every single weigh-in after that, I literally was getting taped. They tape your neck, they tape your waist, and we're going to deep dive into it. Is that an effective program? Personally, I think not. But we're going to ask Ant and see his thoughts on it. All right, Ant, so let's get into it. Tell me, where do you think that all of this stuff really even begins? Is it like in the fleet, once you start treading downhill? Is it when you're starting to enlist? What are your thoughts on it?
It honestly truly begins prior to actually joining the Marine Corps. As recruiters, you know what I mean? We still got to put in the right fit into the Marine Corps. We have the most strict height and weight body, policy when it comes to the military. So prior to even getting a kid to enlist, as you know what I mean? We got to make sure that whatever their height is, that they're actually within that standard of that max allowable weight inside the delayed entry program, or at least the minimal. And then, it kind of goes from there, man. Hey, if he's overweight, how we can start, conditioning him, PTing him, getting him inside that goal, whether it's just, hey, you got to switch up your diet, man. You need to eat clean and you got to work out 2 or 3 times a day, or hey, you're too small. We need you to go to eat that cheeseburger or something like that. So like it really starts there because as you know, you being the boss. Hey, if the guy's too skinny, underweight, or he's too big, we actually can't put him in. So it kind of starts from there, But again, that's the reason why we are the Marine Corps. That's why we are different from everybody else. Is we start from there at the very beginning before you even allow to call yourself a pulley. You have to be within weight standards.
For anybody who's watching, who's looking to enlist, like you're starting at ground zero, you're getting ready to join. So it's like you have a weight that you can join, you can enlist at, right? You can join the delayed entry program. But by the time you leave to go to boot camp, that weight's going to have to come down. It's based off of your height. So if you join, I don't know, I'm not looking at the chart right in front of me, but let's just say you're 5'11" and you can enlist at 220 pounds. By the time you go to boot camp, you have to weigh, let's just say 197 pounds, right? So it's important to understand, like, you have a weight that you have to meet just to be able to enlist. And then you have to have a weight that you got to meet just to ship to boot camp. And from that point on, you're supposed to maintain that weight through your entire career, whether you serve for 4 years to 20 years, or if you're a reservist, you're supposed to maintain that weight. So, like, just to get into it a little bit, I'll be the first one to say, like, growing up, I was just like the short, fat kid. Short in my opinion, but, I was like 5'11" and a half, right? But yeah, so I'm like 5'11" and a half. And, I had no muscle on my body, but I was real heavy. I was like 260 pounds. And, I made the conscious decision that I wanted to do better in the sports that I was playing. And I started honing in on my weight loss and my weight training. And that literally changed my life, like making that decision, going finishing my junior year of football. I joined wrestling. I came into the year at 260 pounds. I played football. By the time football was over, I was like 249 pounds. And then I was interested in wrestling, and they wanted me to wrestle at 215. And to get down to 215, I actually did it really quick, but boom, I did what was called the Atkins diet. And if you're familiar with that, I did the Atkins diet. I was training with the wrestling team, and they might as well have been the cross country team because I was running my ass off. We were doing all these drills, and the weight just melted off of me. And so, I ended up being able to wrestle at 215. Next thing you know, the weight just kept falling off. And the following year, I ended up playing football, sitting around 220. But when wrestling season came back around for my senior season, I wrestled at 189 pounds. And at this point, I had started hitting the gym, and, I'm putting on strength and everything like that. Had a great year as far as sports goes. But that was the first time I even realized that joining the military was an option for me, because I was always the fat kid. You know, at this point, like I'm in shape, and you know, even sitting at 189 pounds, I was running like well because of wrestling. Like we ran so much in wrestling. And yeah, so I mean it was a real option for me. I didn't really have to cut weight to make it to boot camp or anything like that. I was kind of just sitting around 195 pounds, but I can say going through boot camp, I lost a lot of weight. I ended up gaining weight. My weight fluctuates quite a bit. After completing boot camp, going to MCT and eating nothing but MREs the whole time, I go to my MOS school. And in my MOS school, that was the very first time that I had to cut weight to step on the scale and make it. And that was the last time that I stepped on the scale and made 197 pounds. That was my max, 197 pounds. Every weigh-in when I was in the fleet, I had to get taped. So I would almost say, like my whole knowledge of cutting weight was pretty much starving myself just to be able to step on the scale and make it at that time. And then I would gain weight back and recycle the whole program over and over again, at least twice a year, every single year. And with you being like an ops chief and you monitoring all these weigh-ins, is that sort of like your experience? Do most people just step on the scale and make it? Do you see people trying to cut weight, coming in starved and dehydrated? What's your experience with all of that?
Yeah, man. The fact that I'm actually in charge of this program in the fleet in my job, I see all walks of life, man. I see Marines that are teetering on the minimal scale. I see Marines that are just, they can eat whatever and they're always good. And then, I've seen Marines that come in, freaking out of standards. And then that's where we have, like you mentioned, this episode, we have the body composition program. So the Marine Corps, you have to weigh in twice a year, between January and June the first time, and then between July and December. So you got to weigh in twice and you got to be within standards. And like you were mentioning earlier, each height has a minimal and a maximum when it comes to weight allowed. So for me, I'm not gonna say my height, you know what I mean? Tall, but
You're short king.
So I am a short king. So for me, I'm 64 inches. So my 64 inches, my max is 155 pounds. So if it's time for me to come weigh in and I come weigh in and I'm more than 155 pounds, that's when two Marines come in and they go in and then they tape me. All right, they tape my neck and they tape my waist. Each one of those evaluators take me 3 times. And between those 3 times, they take my height and they subtract my neck and my waist, and they come with the call circumference value, which will total a number and give me a body fat percentage. Well, in the Marine Corps, each age you have a different body fat percentage. All right. So for me, since I'm an older Marine, my max allowable weight is 20%. So if I'm below if I'm 20% or below, I'm good. So even though I got tapered, I'm out of standards. Technically, I'm within standards because my body fat is the max allowed weight. If I'm 22, 23%, now what we have is we call a BIA machine, a body index machine, pretty much, where we take the Marine, they go and they grab it, and this scale is crazy because it gets your actual body fat in your arms and your legs, and it tells you if your right arm's bigger than your left arm, if your left leg's bigger than your right leg, and then what your actual true body fat percentage is. And I'm sorry to say, man, with this scale, if we get you at like 19-20%, that scale's gonna get you at like 23-24%. So if that's the case, once we get your true body fat percentage, if you're out of standards, then we assign you to a 6-month evaluation process. All right. So it kind of starts off punitive. It's not really supposed to be punitive. So if you are out of standards, you will get assigned a 6105 because you're out of standards. The Marine Corps tells you must maintain standards 24/7 as long as you're a Marine. So if you're out of that, when you start this process, you will get a 6105, and then you get goals each month. All right. So we're trying to get you back within the max allowable maximum weight or your max body fat percentage. All right. So if it's, 155 pounds and 20%, we're going to try to get you in that range through the 6-month evaluation. All right. So each month you may be required to lose 2 pounds, 3 pounds, and, 0.5% of body fat until at the end of those 6 months, you get in one of those two, if not both. So the goal is always to get a Marine back within those 6 months Because if not, if you just say, hey, I don't care, I'm not about it, that's probably the easiest way out of the Marine Corps. Because at the end of those 6 months, you can get processed for administrative separations. But again, that's not the intent. We get it. Life is hard, depending on your job. Like, you're doing crazy stuff. You got crazy hours. You're not sleeping as well. You're deploying, eating garbage and stuff like that. So it happens. It's not trying to it's something that's bad. But like I said, you decided to be a Marine. You decided to have that standard that the Marine Corps said. So we got to get you back in standard. So after that 6 months, if you're good, if you're able to hit the max height, the height and weight or body fat percentage, you will get taken off. If you're having trouble with it and you're slowly making progress at the end of the 6 months, if it shows that you made a significant amount of progress, we can actually recommend to the CO, like, hey, let's go ahead and give this man a one-time extension. And we can give you 6 extra months to try to get you off at the end of that total year period. And hopefully 9 times out of 10, we get people off, right? People get off.
Yep.
They realize it's all about healthy habits, making smart choices when it comes to the meals that you have, when it comes to actual PT, and you know what I mean? Because we get in the fleet, it's not mandatory PT every day depending on what unit or shop you're with. So you kind of fall out of the PT aspect and stuff like that. But, like you mentioned earlier, man, really it's just knowing your body. You know what I mean? I'm not a nutritionist. I don't got nutrition, education. I can mention what works for me, but what works for me doesn't work for you. Like you said, like, we're 2 different people, we're 2 different heights. You know what you got to do to, get yourself within standards or lose the weight. And I do too, you know what I mean? So the biggest thing, the greatest thing is that we're the day and age where all you got to do is Google that stuff, figure out what's out there and what's working for your body to get yourself back into where you need to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. You already loaded me up with a plethora of questions. All right, so for the viewers, if you haven't seen some of our other episodes, and obviously he's a current active duty service member, right? Actually just got selected to Gunny. Hey, congratulations, by the way, Ant. Hey, and myself, I'm a veteran. I got out in August of 2022, right? So when you mentioned that they have a different machine or whatever that you stand on or you hold on to or whatever, and it measures your actual body fat percentage. Like, just to clarify on that, is that what the Marine Corps is using now, or are they still doing the neck and the navel tape?
So that's 100% by the order we're using the machine. If someone's telling you not to use a machine, it's actually the incorrect way to do. So really, again, we're doing it to verify, hey, you are out of standards, and then that machine's kind of verifying where we got you at. So it's just making sure we're being very accurate and very thorough when it comes to actually, hey, this person is or isn't out of standard when it comes to body fat percentage.
So if I step on the scale and I'm over my max, you don't tape me, you just put me onto this machine.
No. So I actually tape you first. So again, whenever you come in, I'll take your height. So if you're at 72 inches, that 72 inches will tell me, hey, he either has to be this at his minimum or this at his maximum. And so we'll get you at the scale. And then if you jump on the scale and you're over your maximum at that point, me and another Marine will actually pull you to a different room. We'll have you lift up your shirt. And like I said, I'll do your neck 3 times, and then I'll take your waist 3 times, and then he will do the same thing. Like I said, we'll subtract the neck with the waist, and then with your height, there's a percentage where you got to be at body fat, and we'll see exactly where that gives you. So like I said, depending on where we measure you at, which can be accurate sometimes, and that's why we go to the machine, you know what I mean? Because sometimes we tape you too tight or too loose, so it kind of fluctuates in between the 2 individuals. We try to make sure it's all, uniform across the board and it's the same measurements, but we're humans and we make mistakes. So if we get you at 23, 24% and your max allowable weight is 19, 20%, then we're like, hey, you're out of standards. All right, we're going to, take you to the gym, the Semper Fit gym, where they actually have the machine. We'll have you step on it, put in your height and weight and stuff like that. And then it takes your whole body mass index. And it tells you if your left arm's bigger than your right, if you're holding more of the weight down your lower half, or it's really your midsection, and it gives you a more accurate and true weight number, your body fat percentage that we actually go off. And that's actually a determining factor if you're going to get assigned to the program or not.
Damn. I mean, that's wild. I got one more question on that.
Okay.
So if I step on the scale and I'm over, and then you and another Marine, you tape me, and I made tape, do I have to go onto the machine still?
No, you're good. If your max percentage is 19%, and all you got to do is get one number, you know what I mean? So like if I tape you, 3 times, and out of those 3 times, one is 19%, with the other one are 20. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt and give you that 19%. So if you make it just once in any of those measurements, then you're actually good. Like I said, it's a flawed
Got it.
system. We're getting there, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, yeah. I will say, hey, again to the viewers, right? I was a taper my entire career, my whole career. And I can definitely say that I complained every single time I had to do a weigh-in, because like Ant's saying, there's certainly human error in it, right? One guy can tape my neck and he's squeezing and almost choking me, and then the next guy, he's a little bit looser, and then same with the waist, and it's certainly up to who's taping you, where exactly they hit you at on the neck, same with the navel area or your waist. And I would complain every single year, like, man, this guy's taping me too low or too high or too tight or too loose or whatever. But it sounds like that machine is going, hey, if you got something to complain about, that machine's going to put you on BCP. Yep. That's what it sounds like.
Yep, definitely.
So I really appreciate you explaining those things. But so another question that I have is you mentioned, like, you're not a nutritionist. Now, if you can't answer it, don't answer it, right? But I'm here. I'm gonna ask you the hard questions.
Oh, yep.
Is BCP, the body composition program, if you get assigned to it, are Marines making it off? Are they just making it off based off of their own effort? Or are you guys like, is there some sort of procedure that you guys are teaching these Marines to help them lose the weight? My understanding is the Marines just get assigned and then they got to show up to the gym X amount of times throughout the week. But what they do at the gym is completely up to them. That's my understanding of the program. Please talk to us on that one.
Yeah. So as soon as you get assigned to the program, one of the first things we have you do, like I said, because I'm not a nutritionist, so we actually have you enroll into a course online. It's called the Simple Fit Basic Nutrition. Again, it just kind of teaching you basic stuff when it comes to healthy eating. And then after you actually do that, the actual gym, the Simple Fit gym, actually has no crap nutritionists that have studied it, majored in it, got a degree in it. So we actually send you there afterwards, again, to try to give these Marines as much information possible. The thing about the Marine Corps is we can tell you what height and weight and body fat to be at, but we cannot force you to eat anything. All right. So that's where the program gets difficult. You know what I mean? Because per the program, once you get assigned, you're supposed to work out 5 times a week at a minimal 30 minutes a day. All right. So at least 30 minutes, 5 times a week. And then every week, I actually have those Marines come in and weigh in to see where they're at that week, or if they're gaining, they're losing, if they're still at the same, spot. And then again, those nutrition classes that we can send you to a nutritionist as many times as you want to, but it's up to that Marine, that individual, to actually make the effort to actually eat smart and, PT to their fullest. So different units that I've been to do it different ways.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, in the S3, we will take those Marines that are at a standard and we'll go PT them. We're designated as command physical training representatives. Again, I'm not saying I'm a PT stud, but, I know somewhat of how to work out. And so I try to, get the Marines to at least start getting active, moving the body, right, and stuff like that. Just things to get the blood flowing, to get the fat to start burning and stuff like that. But again, I can't force you what to eat. We can track food, my fitness pal. You got things that you can tell what you're putting in your body versus what's coming out. Because as you know, you got to put yourself pretty much in a caloric deficit to actually start losing the weight, to actually see the progress on what you're doing. And by weighing them in every week, we're able to kind of see that progress. But throughout the 6 months, like I said, it's either us or whatever shot that Marine comes from. 9 times out of 10, that staff NCO, that motivated, NCO is going to pull that Marine aside and actually start PTing him as well, too, because then it kind of gives that type of black eye if they got Marines out of standards. So there is a conscious effort from the whole command, from their shop, to actually help these Marines in every way possible to get off the program in a good way, on their own, making standards and stuff like that, vice being told, it's time to get out.
Okay, for sure. This is good. Hey, I'm telling you right now, Ant, this is about to be an episode full of me just shooting questions to you.
I'm all about it. The more they know, the better.
Bet. All right. So this one, I don't know if it's exactly in your wheelhouse or not, but so if a Marine is not on has not been assigned to BCP, do they still have the same availability to go and see these nutritionists at the Semper Fit gym, or do they have to be assigned to have that open access to the nutritionist?
No, any Marine, whether you're on the BCP program or you're just a regular Marine, any Marine can go to any Semper Fit gym and go see a nutritionist. Again, like the Marine Corps wants healthy, smart, educated Marines. All right, so that's there, and there's no charge. There's no charge. You simply go up to that person. Hey, I would like to talk about nutrition. I want to figure out something for me. I'm trying to gain weight. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to get cut up. I'm trying to bulk up. Whatever they're trying to do for their body, that nutritionist will actually sit down with them and kind of figure out their life. Hey, are you sleeping enough? What do you do on a daily basis? Do you work out? Stuff like that, and kind of just put a plan together for this Marine to help them achieve those goals that they want. So anybody can go, whether you're on the program or not. It's all about just going out there and, making the effort to educate yourself.
Okay. Well, hey, y'all heard it right here first, because, as Marines, we take pride in our title. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody asked us like, oh yeah, what branch service are you in? Like, I'm a Marine. Like, we take pride in that. And we just assume that the average person understands that we're better than the other branches. Like, that's our mentality. And part of that mentality is not being fat in uniform. So you might not know everything there is to know about nutrition and fitness and whatever. But what I can say for certain is there are people around you that do. And obviously, like Ant just mentioned, you have full access to a nutritionist and whatnot. So if you feel yourself, wavering that borderline right there, you need to take it upon yourself. You can't blame leadership. Oh, my leadership. No, dude, like, your leadership's not there when you're stuffing your mouth with some Little Caesars because it's cheap and it's fatty. Like, no, you got to do this on your own. All right. Next question I have for you, Ant. Is there a point, because a lot of people will say something similar to what I said about my time trying to be a wrestler, right? Or wrestling. We just stop eating. We're spitting in bottles. We're doing whatever we have to do to step on the scale and make it be under. It don't matter if it's under by 0.1 or whatever. Like, I've literally seen somebody stand on the scale and crick their nose to make their nose bleed and just let it run off the scale so that they make weight and they can wrestle at their match. Yeah. Is there a point that you see somebody's out there slaying themselves because they hadn't been doing everything right, which is why their weight is where it's at? But they're trying to come in, see you, make weight, and you can just tell visibly, like, the person's completely dehydrated, dry like a raisin. And is there a point where it like raises a flag and you have to take some sort of action, anything like that?
So yes, obviously. So one thing that I honestly like about the program, I'll get to questions and kind of be a long answer to that question. But once you get assigned to the program, one of the first things you do after we, tape you and then you go to the machine, we actually send you to the doctor. All right, and they give you a blood test just to make sure there's not a medical issue. Because again, like, the Marine Corps cares about you, you know what I mean? Whether people believe it or not, the Marine Corps really cares. They want the Marines to be fit and healthy. So they do a test just to make sure there's no underlying medical condition, no lymph nodes or, cancer, anything crazy like that. So they rule out the medical part. And if you are fine medically, you're healthy, and that means you're able to get on the program with no restrictions, then, you know what I mean? Like, again, it just goes back to education. And that's the hard part, because Marines are truthful. They really are, especially when you're working with them every day for, at least 6 months. You get to know the inside of out, and, you feel for them, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I just work 13, 14 hours. I get 10 to 15 minute chows. So in the morning, all I'm doing is drinking energy drinks. And every 2 minutes, I'm smoking a cigarette because I'm on the line trying to get these aircrafts up or whatever the case may be. So, like, I feel bad for them, but I always, like I said, all I can do is suggest. And I tell them, like, damn, don't starve yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it is not healthy. Does it work? Yes. But at point of what? Your health. And you know what I mean? Like you said, cutting, like, your body, you got to a point where you're like, ooh, almost fainted or something like that because you're cutting so drastically. It helps but it's not good. I don't recommend it. I'd rather you just smarten up, figure out what works for your body. You know what I mean? Like there's things out there that work. You just have to be willing to figure out. And the
Yeah.
good thing is you got 6 months to kind of figure that out. What's working for you, because I could just be eating, bread and freaking water and it works for me, but maybe you need chicken and rice, like you got to figure out what works for your body. But if you do it right, if you're eating and you're working out, it will happen. You just got to make healthy habits. And the good thing about the 6 months is you're able to build on those habits. So at the end of the 6 months, whenever you get off, you're able to continue into the Marine Corps for however long you want to be in the Marine Corps or in life, making those healthy habits, knowing that you can make it work. You're fit, you're feeling good, you have, prolonged your life and stuff like that as well too. So we definitely do try to step in when a Marine tells me that they're not eating at all and they're, weak and stuff. Like I try to tell them, like, just go to medical, make sure if you're checked out, make sure you're 100% healthy, eat. It's not good. You're putting your body into shock. And a lot of times out of 10, whenever you're doing stuff like that, your body's trying to retain for a long time that weight, that fat, because it's eating itself, it's hungry. So yeah, it will work out, but you're putting yourself at risk for further injuries if you do that. So we definitely try to caution them not to do that and make sure they're making the right decisions, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense. All right, and I got another question for you on the topic, right? So,
Yep.
in order to get into BCP, not that is something that you should be trying to get into, but if you get assigned to the program, you mentioned already you receive a 6105. That is a paragraph 6105, and it turns into what we call in the military a page 11, and it goes onto your official profile, right? It's tied to your name. And 6105 is a negative counseling. You don't want a negative counseling. So my question to you, Ant, is like, if you're saying like, yeah, if you're getting assigned to BCP, you receive a 6105, and then you get assigned 6 months to BCP where you can better yourself and everything like that. Can you speak at all to like the how it might affect somebody's promotions or something like that if they're being assigned to BCP?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, so as soon as you start the program, for being out of standards to get on the program, you will get that negative counseling. You will get that 6105 that goes in your permanent record, as well as a 6-month promotion restriction. And it sucks, but like I said, the Marine Corps, they have standards. People want to join the Marine Corps for their standards and how we separate ourselves from other branches. And so if you're able to fall out of standards and be out of weight, be out of shape, they don't feel like you're ready to be promoted to that next rank, whether that's Lance Corporal, Corporal, Sergeant, whatever the case may be. So you got to kind of show yourself that you can continue with that standard, as well as your command, to be able to lift that promotion restriction at the end of that 6 months. And again, like I said, like it's not trying to be punitive, because as soon as you get signed, you get that 6105, and then you can make weight for the rest of the 6 months and you'll be good. At the end of 6 months, the promotion restriction comes off, you get off the program, and boom, you're hitting it. But if you're just gaffing it off and you're gaining more weight and you're gaining more body fat, then at the 4th month assessment, you'll get another 6105, which is kind of help you get out of the Marine Corps. Because after 6 months, if you continue like, nope, I'm not about it, I'd rather just get out the Marine Corps is going to go ahead and boot your ass. So I said, we try not to be punitive. Try not to be punitive at all. But if you gaff it off, fuck around and find out, I guess.
Yeah,
but we want Marines to get off, man. Like, we want Marines to succeed, and the Marine Corps gives you a great option. You know what I mean? So I know you was a PT stud, so we do two fitness tests a year, right? We got the physical fitness test, and then we got the combat fitness test. So if you do a 245 in each, fitness test, that actually raises your extra body fat percentage. So if your max is 19, but you're out of standards and you got those 245, you can now get up to 20%. So it might put you in within standards, you're good. And then if you're really obese, 285 on the PFT, 285 on CFT, you're actually exempt from standards. You know what I mean? So you could be, 25%, but you're literally obese when it comes to these fitness tests. You'll still be within good standards of the Marine Corps. So it's kind of like, hey, he's big, not fat. He just, maybe he's super, muscular or something like that. And he's killing on the PFT, getting 300s and 300s. Like, hey, you're good. You will be good when it comes to height and weight. You won't get anything punitive. You won't get assigned to anything because you're killing it when it comes to the fitness test. So there's ways around it. Just be great.
Yeah. Simple as that. Just be perfect. We're not asking much. Just be perfect, dude. Like, come on now. No, but hey, I really appreciate you explaining that. I remember when the Marine Corps first transitioned to opening it up to the 245, you get an extra percentage. The 285, you're exempt. Somebody like myself, I was complaining day in, day out. I promise you, I've said it 100 times that I was gonna submit an EO complaint about being taped. I was like, bro, they hate us. Yeah. Like, you're telling me that I can weigh 205 pounds and my max is 197. I can weigh 205 pounds and go out there and come in first on my PFT out of the whole squadron. Run a 300 CFT. I can't say I'm coming in first because hella people run 300 CFTs. But I'm the one I'm deterred. I'm deterred. But you got somebody who's my same exact height that weighs 135 pounds and can't pass the PFT. But they're good, right? Yeah. They're good. Well, maybe they pass the PFT. They do 3 pull-ups and barely cross the finish line on the run and whatever. But that's the ideal image of a Marine. I hated that. I hated it. Right. And I want to clarify. I'm grateful that the Marine Corps transitioned to that. But I also want to like double down on the fact that it's truly up to you. I was always very much so into like physical fitness. I liked lifting weights. I enjoyed going on runs occasionally. Passing PFTs, getting first class on my PFT and my CFT, that was never an issue that I ran into, right? I would jump up on the pull-up bar and I'd knock out my 20, and then they bump it to 21, and then they bump it to 23. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to start doing 30. Like, that was never my issue. But I also always knew I'm carrying extra weight. And I'm like, man, I'm working my ass off in the gym. I really am. It shows by my fitness scores. Why do I keep carrying this weight? And this is something I struggled with my whole career, right? Yeah. I mean, when I was younger, like I could lose the weight faster or whatever. But, as I'm getting older, because I stayed in for 12 years, I wasn't the oldest when I got out, but as my body was aging, it was harder and harder. And like I said, I stayed in for 12 years. It took me probably 9 years to realize this, right? Ant might not be able to say it because he's active duty. So I'm going to say it. I'm going to drop this dime right here. It's as simple as this. Calories in, calories out. Calories in, calories out. And what you want to do, right? Because I'm a big eater. Like, if I don't get full, I'm going to continue to eat. But if I'm not eating the right things, then I'm going to get fat because I'm consuming too many calories. Yep. So you want to consume low calorie, volume dense foods. If you're eating something that's extremely low calorie, but you're eating a shit ton of it, you're going to get full. Yep. And you're going to be good. You're going to be satiated. And now you're forcing your body to be into a caloric deficit. Now, obviously, you still want to PT. You want to lift. You want to go out and run. You want to do all the Marine things because the goal here is not to become skinny fat. Nobody wants to be skinny fat. First of all, it's ugly. It's just gross. Also, you're weak as shit. Like, who in the world wants to be skinny fat? Right. Go to the gym, be in a caloric deficit, and be in that caloric deficit by consuming low-calorie, volume-dense foods. If you don't know what that is, hop onto YouTube as soon as you finish this video. Like the video, make sure you're subscribed, by the way, and type into the search bar on YouTube, low-calorie, volume-dense foods, and it will be your cheat code. I'm telling you that actually, it was one of my own Marines. He taught it to me. He got out after his 4 years. I became a recruiter, but we stayed very good friends. And he got hyper focused into fitness when he got out. And he hit me up as I'm on recruiting duty. And recruiting duty was a whole struggle bus. New highs on my weights while I was out there because, I'm sitting down a whole lot. I'm interviewing kids. I'm not so much focused on exercising. And I was just eating freaking Snicker bars and crushing monsters 24/7. That's not good for anybody. But I link up with him and he starts explaining to me like, yo, it's really as simple as calories in, calories out. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't count calories, dude. Like, no, I just try to work out hard and, everything's going to work out in my favor. Well, I had been doing that for a lot of years and it never actually worked out in my favor. So he first mentioned it to me. I kind of got into it. It assisted me through the rest of my time in recruiting, right? So I was able to make my weights and whatnot. And then I make it to the fleet. I go out to Hawaii. Ant and I actually got stationed together. Like I went out to Hawaii. He finishes his tour on recruiting. He comes out to Hawaii. Yeah, it was awesome. It was a blast. Like I had my homie out there. But when I made it out to Hawaii, I start, just like I had said, I started typing into YouTube like low calorie, volume dense foods. And I come across cookbooks and all of this stuff, right? I'm more like in depth on what I'm consuming. And guys, I'm telling you that is the cheat code. I went out to, by the time I made it to Hawaii, I was probably right around 235, 240 pounds. I was still squeaking in to getting taped and making weight, right? It may have had something to do with the fact that the guy who was taping me was somebody that we had enlisted in Syracuse, New York, but I was making it. But I also knew like, I'm carrying too much weight. I don't like this. I want to focus in on this. Yep. And I got into it. I focused heavily on what I was eating every single day. And, to be honest, like I would still go out and drink and stuff like that. But I started walking in the mornings. I started I was already lifting, but I would like wake up in the morning and I would walk and then go to the gym during my lunch and then walk as soon as I got off of work. And if I didn't do those things, I wasn't going to have a drink that day. I wasn't going to hop on the game that day. Like it was almost like these are my prerequisites I have to do. And boom, if I meet those prerequisites, I can splurge. Yep. And I'm telling you, I went from like the 240 pounds and I dropped down to like 209 or 210, which was the lowest I had been since I was like a corporal. And again, I still had to get taped. But when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was probably in the best shape of my entire military career. So I want to make sure like I hammered down on all of those things. I don't know if Ant can speak to that stuff because he's still in and he can't tell people what to eat and whatnot, but that's the cheat code. You have to be in a caloric deficit, first of all, but the trick is to get full while you're in the caloric deficit. It's going to stop you from all the snacking and all of that shit. All right. So double back, rewind it, rewatch this part and stick to that, guys. All right, so now that I got all of that out of the way, I just want to make sure that you, the viewer, if you struggle with your weight while you're in the military, this is not just a Marine Corps thing. This is a military thing right here. So Ant mentioned that you can get assigned to BCP. It's going to give you the 6105 negative counseling, which that hurts you. That hurts your promotions. Your promotion restricted, first of all, for those 6 months. And then if you don't make the progress you needed to make, then you have the chance of getting reassigned. From my understanding, typically you get reassigned. But if you fail it the second time, you're getting kicked out. You're going to get kicked out. And there's different titles that you can have when you get kicked out. And the one that I've seen the most with when it comes to like you not being able to lose weight and whatnot, you're receiving an other than honorable discharge, an OTH. Listen, guys, you can make up whatever excuse you want to have in your head when it comes to getting discharged from the military, right? There's pluses and there's minuses to all the different discharges there are. It will be extremely hard for you to receive your benefits when you get out if you receive anything other than an honorable discharge. Like there's clauses in there. Well, I can talk to my congressman and I can do this. I can submit for that. None of those are guaranteed, right? So I've mentioned numerous times in this episode, right, that I struggled personally with meeting my weight. I was never assigned to BCP. One, because I was very focused on getting promoted when I was promotion eligible at all times. I took that very seriously. If I'm sitting here in a promotion restriction status, or maybe I had already been assigned, right? And I'm out of the promotion restriction. It didn't necessarily affect me because I wasn't up for a promotion in those 6 months. You have the page 11 on your record.
Yep.
It's going to harm you moving forward. BCP is there to help the Marines while they're in. Make sure that they're deployable. Make sure that they're this and that. It's not meant to help you as an individual get promoted faster. That, my friends, is up to you. Stay off of BCP. Don't get the page 11s. Don't get the 6105s. Get out with the honorable discharge so you can receive the benefits that you have earned for serving your country. That's about all the questions that I can think of for you. Do you have anything any last words that you want to pass?
Yeah. So I would say this. Obviously, my thoughts, my feelings, my opinions do not represent the Marine Corps, the DoD, they're mine. And I will say, like, it's a struggle. We get it. But at the end of the damn day, I want to be a Marine. Most Marines join to be different. All right. We have those standards. So the moment you step and you're talking to one of us recruiters, you accept those standards. There is issues or circumstances that happen that you get out of standards, but it's going to help. The program will help if you get there. Be around, good Marines, educate yourself, YouTube, Google, whatever you need to do to get yourself back out of that funk. But damn, give a damn and you'll be fine. Give a damn, you'll be fine. Have standards, accept the standards, don't complain about it, and you'll be fine. That's all I really have.
Simple as that. Y'all heard it here first. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Magnesium Citrate, on this one. If you haven't heard of them, go ahead and look them up. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the After Actions podcast. Make sure you guys like the video if you like the damn video, people. Also, double check, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bells turned on. If you have something that you want to hear us discuss here on the After Actions podcast, because we do it so well and it's unfiltered and unscripted, we tell it to you how we see it, and that's a guarantee. Drop those questions down in the comments, and we're going to make sure that we create an episode specifically geared towards those comments if they get enough likes and everything like that. So, again, make sure you're subscribed. Until next time on the After Actions podcast.